back to Laurence McKenna channel, where we're still talking about the Champions League because, well, it is Champions League time of year. It's getting to the good bits. Now, I've got my laptop together after I watched the game this evening. I just thought to myself, hey, we could just flick through what happens in the next round, take a look at this, the job. Yeah, you can't really do that as copyrighted. But the point is, City had an amazing result. Real Madrid, very solid. AC Milan probably had the hardest of all of these quarterfinals, and Inter Milan had an equally difficult tie against Benfica and came through that one still punching. So it's interesting just to dig a little bit deeper, look at what is going on in each of these games, and maybe not the tactical matchups just yet, although we will take a look at the sides, but just, appreciating what we're looking at and what we're getting at this point in the Champions League. If you've not already hit subscribe, get down there, hit it. You can do it at the end of the video if you want, when I feel like maybe I've proved myself, if you stick around for that long. But if you want to do it now, then we're well on our way to 60k. Be great to have you guys. If I hit 59k soon, I will be a very happy man. Let's start off, of course, with... Let's actually start on the Inter Milan AC Milan side. Now, it starts with AC Milan at home, Inter Milan away, and then Inter Milan at home, AC Milan away. Maybe irrelevant, though, maybe also semi-relevant, maybe, I don't know, is there something in terms of ticket allocation that either of these get? Is there something in terms of, which side feels more comfortable on those days? Let's dig a little bit into this, because AC Milan currently just ever so slightly above Inter Milan in the league. There's only a couple of points difference between them. And you can probably see a similar trend in a couple of weeks' time. It's not like there's going to be a massive difference. Inter Milan into those Champions League spaces. AC Milan in those Champions League spaces. Inter Milan not. Inter Milan literally 2 points off. They're on equal amount of games. And they're still both about 12, 15 points off the top of the table, which is obviously Napoli. Now, AC Milan just came through against Napoli, thanks to a masterclass from Stefan Pioli and what he was trying to do with a dogged, quite nasty side of AC Milan. You can sort of see down here what they were trying to achieve against Napoli. They had Olivier Giroud up front. Rafael is obviously one of the real star players in this. His pace, his height, even his footballing intelligence, and just the way that he plays out on the wing with that kind of driving pace, that driving power that he has. And then obviously Diaz was also a particularly interesting player in this one. But the midfield was willing to crunch in. No one wants to come up against Sandro Tonali. No one wants to come up against that Tomori and Kiar combination right now. These guys are having a good moment, as they say in Europe. And it's well worth basically honouring these guys, possibly as an outside shout for making the Champions League final. Obviously, quite evenly matched possibly against Inter Milan, but as an outside shout for dark horses in this competition, frankly. The reason I'm saying that is obviously on the other side of the tie, you've got the guys who are going to be considered the bookies' favourites. On this side of the tie, you're probably looking at the guys who are tactically going to have to do something special against the others. But weirdly, they've both done something special in this round. AC Milan doing something special against Napoli, coming away with the 1-0 and then the 1-1. Obviously going through on the back of that. They came through against Tottenham quite easily. And then in the group stages, there were a lot of I want to say semi-convincing. If you get a 4-0 against a Dynamo Zagreb, or if you get a 4-0 against Salzburg, is that really as convincing as the results against Tottenham or a Napoli afterwards? Really, looking at that diversity of that group, you wouldn't say they've particularly kind of blown anyone away, if that makes sense. There were a couple of close ones in there, especially against Salzburg with the draw. And then, Zagreb, is that really blowing them away? But you can see how they like to play. Olivier Giroud through the middle, Leao very much more advanced than him, mainly because of the pace and the touch that he has further down the wing. And obviously he's cutting it back, crossing it back, cutting inside. And then the opposite side as well, Diaz, this kind of inside player, like an inside forward rather than an outside forward. And then obviously Benacer plays I want to say a classic 10, but he's not. He's playing a much more modern 10 than we've seen in previous years. And then just behind that, Tonali is way more, almost, he's not a winger, but he's I think it was more in order to counteract what Napoli were going to try and do. He was trying to do something a little bit more different, a little bit more special. And at the same time, at the back there, you can really see how tucked in and narrow this side is. I kind of think that, let's go into this Inter Milan side down here. Look at the difference in the width between the two. Can I copy and paste between the two? I'm not sure I can. I probably can, but I'll probably mess it up. Oh, sorry, I've gone to Man City there. If you want to go into Milan, look, there you go. So just compare the width between these two. Look how wide this Inter Milan team are. Look how narrow, and remember how narrow this AC Milan team are. Look at how they're I mean, they play with one forward and Olivier Giroud, but really they're playing with that like three. But it is kind of, sometimes it's more like a two because they are so narrow. Maybe Diaz is so narrow, depending on this kind of lopsided play that they have. But it's interesting to see the different ways in which Simeone, Inzaghi, and Pioli set each team up. And really, when you're digging into these midfields, you love to see Brozovic is that nasty to play, deep-lying destroyer in the midfield. Mkhitaryan slightly further ahead with a creative role, but then the real creativity in someone like a Barrea or someone like that. You've got a Martinez who obviously scored in the second leg against Benfica. I think might have also snatched one in the first leg. You've got the options of a Dzeko, maybe even a Lukaku in there. There are just so many different combinations that Inter can play in, and I underestimated them in the previous round. I thought they were going to get... I didn't think they'd get swept aside by Benfica, but I was been so impressed with what Benfica did that beating Benfica has given me a sense of belief in this Inter Milan side that maybe I should have had before. There are plenty of people in the comments who warned me about this, plenty of people who basically warned me about that 3-5-2 that they love to play, and the kind of the not only the difficulty in breaking that down, but also the control that gives them. And we'll talk about the final in a second, but AC Milan, a lot more narrow. Inter Milan, a lot wider. We can go and actually look at the recent results between the two of them. Inter Milan got the win in very recently, actually, in February. And then back in January as well, Inter Milan again got a win there. And then AC Milan snatched one back. I mean, this is, towards the beginning of the season last year. So, there's a lot more seems to be moving in Inter Milan's way. AC Milan obviously doing a little bit better than them, but between the two of them in the Supercoppa and also in Serie A more recently, look up the results that Inter have pulled off, and impressively so as well. So I'm not going to count either side out of this. You've just got to say, I think there is just kind of, it's such an interesting time in the first place with obviously the derby element of it in the first place, but also the way that both these managers want to set up, the way they want to face each other. This is going to be a really great tie. But the jewel in the Champions League crown this season, the one that everyone is waiting for, the one that everyone's kind of excited for right now, Real Madrid, second in the league, obviously, to Barcelona, not even by about 13 points. 13 points. 11, sorry, between them and Barcelona, and then only a couple of points between them and Atletico Madrid. It's not about your points totals in the Champions League. It's not, it is obviously in the league, but in the Champions League, it's a little bit different. Real Madrid are just made. There is DNA in this, and you could make it, equal arguments for, say, AC Milan on the other side, and maybe not so much in recent years, but you kind of get the point. There is this history there. Just look at them. I'm listening to Carlo Ancelotti's book at the moment on audio, and it's really well read. I'm reading along with it as well, learning how to read. And it's interesting to hear the way that he sets this side up. The almost it's not casual, but the casual feel, the silent guidance that he's giving these players, the soft hand by which he's sort of maneuvering this team between each tie. You see it so much on the field. So this kind of eagerness to be a silent leader, someone who is a positive force for good in that dressing room. And it really seems to work. Real Madrid seem relatively unflappable, which is what makes playing someone like Manchester City so enticing this year, because of the way that they made someone like Bayern Munich flap. Bayern Munich, especially in that second leg, just flat, but we'll get to that in a second. And then obviously it's the ease with which they dispatched Liverpool. It's the ease with which they dispatched Chelsea as well, 4-0 overall. And, as much as Chelsea were maybe limiting elements of what Real Madrid did, even in themselves in a very limited way, because 4-0 over two ties, it's enticing, isn't it? It's kind of exciting to see a Benzema up against this backline of City. It's exciting to see a Vinicius Jr., especially when you look at Benzema again a little bit deeper, the two overlapping Rodrigo and Vinicius much higher up the field, the wide balls being splayed and sprayed out to those guys, and then the midfield control. Who is going to get control of this the Real Madrid midfield, especially when you compare it to the Man City midfield? The average positions this evening are really even, almost hexagonal shape. In fact, almost a perfect hexagon for Pep Guardiola. And do you know what's so interesting about this Man City team? Haaland gives them the latitude to play a more defensive way, to counterattack almost. They got McKenna in so much trouble over these two legs. They got so much control of the game because they could just run at him, because they could do something that other teams really struggle to do. And arguably there is a comparison between the two number nines, the silent control of a Benzema, the way that he gets forward, the danger which he embodies out on the field, and then the Haaland, the big, bruising, talented, but ultimately powerful player out there as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what they did. Handily dispatch RB Leipzig quite easily in the end. Obviously, was it like 8-1 on aggregate? And then Bayern Munich 3-0, and then followed by a 4-1. I think it was like 4-1 on aggregate overall, so 1-1 on the night. Probably doesn't do Man City justice, let's be honest. Like, Man City were very much in control of this tie. Though, what I would say is, and what I think is kind of interesting in both of these, the Real Madrid and the Man City tie, almost in contrast between the two, I kind of tried to imagine what it would be like if Real Madrid were the team that were 3-0 down, what it would be that they're aiming for, especially if they took Man City back in the second leg, but they won't. They will play Man City in that first leg, so they'll be trying to establish dominance there. What would it be like if Real Madrid were the team that were 3-0 down? What would it be like if they were trying to come back against this Man City side? And I thought they'd be way more clinical than Bayern were. They'd be a lot more aggressive than Bayern were. They'd probably try and, getting more in combat in that midfield. There would be that historical element of, the comebacks and basically just Real Madrid being Real Madrid in the Champions League. And in recent years as well, especially if you look, semi-finals, 2022, there's 4-3 in the first leg, 3-1 in the second. Who goes through? Exactly. It's that kind of fascinating tie between the two of, like, even when you think that you've damaged them, even when you think you've done something to kind of dent their confidence, who comes back? And who are the team that even when you think you've damaged them, even when you think you dent their confidence, that's Man City this year. I'm not being funny. I think it could be Man City's year. Now, obviously, there is always the predisposition for Pep Guardiola to do something incredible and crazy. But the almost casual, laid-back nature with which this the Man City side will play an Inter Milan or an AC Milan and match them up would just be insane. And you can kind of see it, like, playing AC Milan in that final, the kits, the iconic players, you're playing a side with, like, real gravitas in AC Milan, possibly even in Inter Milan. There's excitement in both of those, right? Like, if you go through against Real Madrid, which is perfectly possible, by the way, but also a huge task, Madrid have been, I guess, kind of closing the gap between them and, Man City have been closing the gap between them and Madrid in recent years. Like, I get it. Like, previously, obviously, there was, they knocked them out, and then again, they knocked them out. They've been going back and forth. Do you know what I mean? They've been exchanging blows in recent years, and Man City have kind of been creep up, and here we are. And I don't love it. I'm not a Man City fan, but I enjoy it. And I think Pep Guardiola has got this side in probably the most confident that they've been in recent years, actually. You saw the interview with Bernardo Silva after the game. You saw how confident he looked, how well he spoke, how easy it seemed to come to him. And the funny thing was, even the Munich goal really was just a dodgy handball. Again, they missed one again. Haaland missed one. So they could have just been so much more comfortable in this tie. The difference is Munich always looked uncomfortable. They're in a bit of a transitional period. You could say similar about Chelsea versus Real Madrid. So have they really been tested? Is it really a classic Champions League run for either City or Real Madrid? No. But does it need to be in order to get a trophy, in order to get the 15th for Madrid, the first for Man City? Probably not. I mean, not at all, no. Both these sides are just as desperate to win it. So the focus will be those guys. I don't know why I underestimated Inter Milan. I feel like they're going to go through against AC here. I think they can make it a fight. I think they're one of the few teams that can go up against AC Milan, like toe-to-toe, especially if you look at this lineup here. Like, they've got the Brozovic in order to break things up. They've got a Barella. They've got a Mkhitaryan who's not afraid to get into them. They've got the width that they need in order to bypass the other teams. They've gone past Benfica, they've gone past Porto, one of the top rated leagues in Europe this season. They've had the bye, obviously against Bayern Munich, it wasn't fantastic, but against Barcelona, they've had some really interesting results. So it's not like these guys can't play football. You know what I mean? I get the feeling we're going to see an Inter Milan Man City final this year. I'm just calling it now. Man City are going to the final, all right? And I know Real Madrid fans are going to be worried and they're going to say it's anti-Spain bias or whatever. Everyone underestimates Real Madrid. Everyone knows they've got it in them. It's not a brave, I guess, or, informed piece of guessing to say that Real Madrid get to the final. They're always in with an opportunity. This Man City side are imperious. They haven't lost since February 5th. The last 10 games, they've scored like 3 goals or more in a majority of those games. They've just been dominant throughout basically February until now. And going into May, they'll be post this Arsenal result. There'll be a bit more clarity in the league. Real Madrid are probably not chasing anyone now, let's be frank about it. They probably, well, maybe they won't give up on the league, but, there's going to be a lot of focus on that if that is the case, because, they played the same number as Barcelona and they've got 11 points difference. That's probably a bridgeable gap. City are going to be, do you know what I mean? I feel like there's something there. I like the matchups in midfield. I love the Modric, Kroos versus Rodri, probably Bernardo Silva, although Bernardo probably be a bit more advanced. Tonight, who did they play? They played Rodri, John Stones. Will it be that John Stones combo in midfield? Will he be that brave? Will they allow that back three, or will they go to a back four to try and combat the Vinicius/Rodrigo elements? Will they even allow them, or will they cut off that source before the ball even goes out there? Or can you even do that against Vinicius? It would be Vinicius against Ederson. It'll be Haaland against Courtois. There is just so many different ties in there that I think are going to be fantastic. So many different matchups. And then it's AC Milan, Olivier Giroud. Like, is he going to be able to win a Champions League with AC Milan? Or up front, is it going to be a Lukaku, someone who's faced a lot of racism recently? Of course, Rafael Leao also facing more racism recently, and that footage very prominent. I'm totally down with those guys for what they're trying to do, as vacuous and vapid as that might sound from someone who's sitting at home. But, it's interesting to look at what's going on for Inter Milan right now with the likes of your Lukakus, with your Dzekos and your Martinez's, how they combine, how really it is that one up front, but there's one off them. It's going to be interesting to see that tactical combo, right? Anyway, I'd love to know what you guys think. Let me know where you think it goes from here. Man City are absolutely dominant. Love their result. They've been fantastic in recent weeks. They are the best side in Europe right now. They're as good as, obviously on form, they're as good, if not way better than Arsenal in terms of form. They're hunting a lot of people down. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I love the matchups they're doing. I think it's going to be great. And yeah, I'll probably do this again based on your comments down below. So let me know down in the comments below what you guys think is going to happen. Whether you've got any inside intel for your own team. And I'll chat to you in a little while. Much love. Bye.